Okay. Three,
Pause.
two.
I'm
oh,
sorry.
oh,
I
oh.
forgot.
Oh my god.
Are you doing 3, 2, 1, then clap?
Yes.
Okay,
3, 2,
thank
1,
you.
clap.
This is quality
Okay.
content.
Shit.
I hope this makes the cut.
Can we make this be a cold
It
intro?
will.
This should be half the podcast.
This is for the Patreon. This is for
Alright,
the
let's
Patreon.
get going.
All right. I'm ready.
3, 2, 1. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the inaugural episode of Haven't You Heard with the Hooligans. Today's Hooligans are Tyler, myself.
What's up? I'm Jason.
Hey everyone, it's Jose.
What's up? I'm Logan.
Jared, shut up.
I knew it was gonna happen.
we made it.
Keep
we
going.
made it 30
Keep
seconds
going.
in.
Oh, it's not fair. Okay. I'm Jared.
What's up? I'm Steven.
And I'm Nick.
Awesome. So this is episode 0, we'll call it, because the way that this is going to work is kind of like a book club, but it's an album club, if you will. Every week we're going to have an album that we have been listening to for the past week, and we're going to give our thoughts and opinions on it, what we liked, what we didn't like, and then at the end we'll be talking about a new album for the next week for us to listen to. We also might kind of sprinkle in some different kind of music topics that we'll talk about. But for this inaugural first 0th episode, we just thought we might go around and share a bit of our music taste, what we like and what we don't like. Or
Are
actually
we
just
sharing
what we like.
don't like?
Yeah,
I know, I'll
don't
share
share
some
what
things
we
I
don't
hate.
like.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Where do I start?
Let's start with
So,
Nick.
Yeah, I hate Nick.
Okay, that's fine.
Flame on. All right, so we'll go in order of introduction, starting with Jason, though.
Wait, why
Jason,
not with you?
Kick us off.
Okay, fine. Alright, so the first album on my list of things that I really like is Acid Rap by Chance the Rapper. I don't know, it's just like a really I had like a month, I think, where I literally only listened to this album in the car every single day and I never got tired of it. So if anything, or if nothing else, that speaks to me that it's a really important album to me. It's just solid all around. Am I supposed to explain like what it's like? Is there really?
I feel like a lot of people have heard Acid Rap.
Yeah.
But if you want to explain more about it,
It's
go feel
rap.
Explain why
Maybe
it
give us-
covers your music taste.
Yeah.
What about it?
Or maybe
appeals
go
to you?
maybe go through all your albums and then recap like
Yeah,
why each one's your
okay.
like your taste. That way we know
Okay.
like all of them.
Okay. So first one is Acid Rap by Chance the Rapper. My second one is To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar, and my third one is Mayday Parade's self-titled album. So I guess going back in order, like I already said, Acid Rap. Just like I never really get tired of listening to it. There's a lot of tracks that you can just kind of jam out to, and they're just really fun to listen to. But there's like some really good and deep lyrics on it as well, and the features are cool. I dig the features. To Pimp a Butterfly is a really was like a big pivotal shift or whatever in my music, because Jared is the one that kind of made me listen to it, because he showed me you.
Yeah,
which
because I was
was-
like, he cries for 2 bars. And I'm like, real?
Yeah, and I was just really confused because I was like, I don't understand, what is this? And then I listened to the album and I cried for 2 bars, and it was really I don't know.
He showed you, but who was me?
Bars.
Was I?
Who was I?
Where was that for the cipher?
I love myself.
No, I is later in the album.
Oh.
you're
Yeah, and the last one, Mayday Parade, is just like my sister showed me Mayday Parade a long time ago, and I didn't used to listen to a ton of music, so I kind of just listened to whatever she listened to, and I really liked them, and it's stuck with me since then. And their self-titled album is just all around really solid. They're like, I guess if you don't know, they're like an alternative kind of punk rock band in more recent years, mostly just like alternative rock, though. It's kind of hard to
you could
describe.
say pop punk for
Pop
them.
punk alternative rock.
Yeah, Yeah.
big noise guitar.
Wiggly
Yeah.
air.
Power chords.
Wiggly air.
air.
Yeah, so those are my albums.
Cool.
Nice.
Jose, would you like to share to the class?
I will not like to, but I will. I had a really tough time picking these. But I say that because I'm picking them right now.
Oh my god.
I
Not prepared.
This is a
I
live
am-
album pick.
Yes. So the one I'm going to pick from the list that I have I'm going with Thriller by Michael Jackson. I am also picking To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar.
You bitch.
And lastly, Wildlife by La Dispute. So I'll start off with Thriller by Michael Jackson. I picked this one because Michael Jackson was like the first music that I was really introduced to. It's just like something that my parents would play whenever we would go on road trips, and way back when, they'd pick we had like CDs that you'd pick in and like put into the little disc drive, and then you'd listen to it. And I would always was always looking forward to listening to Michael Jackson. It was something I could like sing along to, and little like dance to, or at least try to in the car. And so it was like it's something that I always like. Michael Jackson, at least kind of sort of now, holds a very special place in my heart, and especially like has influenced me musically, because I still like to listen to pop music and still like to sing along and dance to music still. So but yeah, if you haven't listened to Thriller, you've had a long time to, depending on how long you've been alive.
Yeah.
It's a really good album, and Michael Jackson's a man who needs no like introduction, like King of Pop, world's most famous successful pedophile, he's
We just lost the sponsor.
Yeah, I can't put that in.
Yeah,
second-
McDonald's just called and says this ain't it.
second only to Jared the Subway guy. So
Well, now we lost
He's-
Subway, Pepsi, and
We'll see if that stays in.
But Thriller is a fantastic album, and Michael Jackson's music is timeless in my opinion. So second, I went with To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar is someone that I started listening to freshman year of college, so a couple of years ago. And truth be told, I think it's the first rap album that I listened to all the way through. And before that, I had only really listened to like rock, metal, and every other sub-genre in between those. Excuse me. So it was a really surreal experience being able to listen to that album front to back, and just like I think Kendrick Lamar really like raised the bar as far as what we should expect from musicians and artists and how they choose to express themselves. And I think for me personally, he opened a lot of doors, because I don't think I would have continued to listen to rap and hip hop and every other like little subgenre between those two, had it not been for Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly. And I'm still a very big Kendrick fan. And I think he's one of the best artists working today for sure. So my last album, Wildlife by La Dispute. La Dispute also has a very special place in my heart. They're a post-hardcore emo band from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Their debut album was very amateurish. I still enjoyed it, but there was a lot of potential there. Very poetic lyrics, very melodic and stripped down instrumentals, and also very dynamic. They could go from being very soft and to go into like really, really loud, and can pull off both very well. And it was also very thematic and conceptual. I don't think it's a stretch to consider it a concept album. It deals with a lot of themes of like suffering and struggles, and how we all need someone or something to like look forward to and to get by in life. And as a like angsty teen back when I listened to it, because this was released in 2011, it was something that really like hit me hard. It was just something that I needed to hear, like just like the very like lyrics, like the way the album goes is like every track is like a different messed up story. It's about a kid dying from cancer, a kid being shot in a drive-by, a man who got stabbed by his son because he's schizophrenic. And it's very sad and depressing, but at the end they kind of all wrap it up with like a hopeful message that humanity is capable of withstanding a lot, and and times are going to get hard, but at the end of the day, you're going to get through it. and as a teenager, I think that's something that I needed to hear. And to this day, it's an album that I listen to when I need to hear that message again. So Wildlife and La Dispute have a very special place in my heart, and I think these three albums kind of summarize my taste in music because it's like I can listen to something a little bit more conceptual. I can always dig something a little bit more upbeat and fun, and kind of like something that you can dance to. And I can also listen to something that's like just plain old like sad, something I would listen to in my room alone. But yeah, I think that kind of those three albums kind of summarize my taste in music for the most part.
Dang.
Wow, we gotta go after that.
Yeah. What the
Yeah, shit, dude.
Can I go again? Can I rewrite
All
my?
right.
You're supposed to have intelligent thought.
Wait a minute.
All right, Logan, what do you got for us?
So, I originally had three in mind, but then after listening to a couple and like really thinking about it for the past couple minutes, like I want to change a couple of them. So the three that I'm going to go with right now, the first one is Youth by Citizen. Then the second one is Control by SZA. And then the third one I'm going to do KOD by J. Cole.
That's a bar right there.
Talk about it.
Oh man.
So I chose Youth by Citizen mainly because like it was my first introduction to music that is quote unquote like harder than the stuff that I used to listen to. Like I used to listen to a lot of like Journey and like Two Door Cinema Club when I was growing up. So a lot of stuff that's like
Bad.
Weak.
depending on what you want, depending on what
I know
you're,
what you mean, Logan. I know what you mean.
you know, it's more like popish and like very like positive
Accessible.
vibes and stuff. Accessible, exactly. So that was like the very first time that I was really introduced to music that had like more like emotional themes, I guess. Was like introduced in a different way other than hip hop, because I'd been introduced to like emotional themes from hip hop before, but never with like bands like that. And like they're not like a screamo band by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a lot harder than the stuff that I normally listen to. And that was the first time that I really experienced anything where I listened to it and immediately had an emotional connection to it and was just like so attached to that album. And I was actually going through a breakup right at that point, and so it just like kind of helped me through that a little bit. And then Control is, oh my gosh, it's my favorite album of all time, and a lot of people give me crap for that, but it's so good.
Who gives a crap?
You give me crap for that, Tyler.
But you won't at them right now.
I think it's one of my favorite albums because generally I like to listen to more like chilled out and like relaxing music, just generally speaking. And so like the production on that album is really amazing, and SZA's vocals are really great. And it's just so fun to just sing along to that and like really, you know, jam out. So that's why I chose that one. And then I chose KOD by J. Cole because it has a lot of the different things that I like look for in rap and hip hop. It's just like
Poop.
it
jokes.
has poop jokes. Yeah, J. Cole loves to talk about shit.
Because he is the shit.
He talks about a lot of like stuff that like gets deep, but he still has like some tracks that are fun, like ATM. So it has a lot of things that I can just like, you know, jam out to and just be dumb. But then like it goes into more deep stuff like brackets whenever it starts talking about some real life shit. And that's a lot of stuff that I look for in hip hop. I don't really like the majority of hip hop where it's just talking about like, you know, drugs, money, girls, like all that kind of stuff. That doesn't really appeal to me.
What's wrong with you?
So it has, that album in particular has a lot, pretty much everything that I look for in a hip hop album, like rolled up into one. And yeah, those are my 3 albums.
Right on.
Dope, man.
Snaps.
I believe it is Jared's turn.
Alright.
Oh,
So
no.
my 3 albums
Go ahead, King.
that describe my music taste are Jay-Z's 444, easy. Marshall Mathers LP, Eminem,
Okay.
and Control by SZA. I'm gonna copy you. But
Oh shit.
Let's go.
we'll see what happens. All right, so 444 honestly is probably in my opinion, the best album to come out in like the last 5 years, maybe.
That's a take right there.
But I don't know. I just think it uh represents my music taste because there's so many layers to it. It's so in depth. Like you can listen to it. I probably listened to it 50, 60 times, and I still go back to songs and be like, oh my god, I even realized like that this means this, and like this bar could be flipped this way, and like there's no way you can listen to it once and be like, okay, I completely digested that album. Like there's just way too much, and like I really like those albums that make you think or make you go back and listen again. You get something new every time. Um, yeah, and I just love Jay-Z, so that's a good album to me. And then Marshall Mathers LP. Uh, you, you know, no matter what you think about Eminem, especially in the early days, you know, it's really controversial. But I think if you listen to it, you can't deny his talent and the way he raps and how he can put his words together and his storytelling. And yeah, sometimes it's really corny and really weird and it's hard to support him. But like this album in particular, out of all of them, was like super important to me because like growing up, you know, I wasn't like in like a what's it called, like a sheltered house. Like my parents like weren't super controlling, but like to them, like all we would listen to was like a lot of like Christian stuff, like some Newsboys or Skillet or DC Talk, like stuff like that, like super, like, you know, if you know, like, you know, right? But like, but then like as soon as I like got like a computer or like a way to listen to music by myself, like I just like looked up like the first thing that came to mind, you know, or like back in the day, like Eminem was like all over the place. So like I just like looked up Eminem and like Marshall Mathers LP came up. So imagine going from like Christian music to Marshall Mathers LP. I was like,
Oh my
what
God.
is going on right now? Like, what is he saying? I didn't understand 90% of what he was talking about, but I was like, oh my god, his rapping is like crazy, and like that's what really got me into rap in the first place. So I think just like his talent, uh, I guess like describes like what I look for in like rap is uh, like flows and like really he can hold like a rhyme scheme for like 2.5 minutes, and like I don't know, I think he's just like super good. And then Control, um I guess like I also really like, you know, sing songy, like not just rap but like singing like Frank Ocean type stuff. But like Control in particular, like the way she articulates her emotions and her experiences, uh I don't know, it's just like sometimes they she'll put something into words and it's like I know exactly like I've been through that exactly, and like I don't know, it's so relatable, but it's just like beautiful the way that she can talk about these things. Um, I don't know, it's therapeutic. Uh, yeah, I guess that's it.
So who rhymes better though? Toby Mac or Eminem?
Oh, Toby Mac, dude, that's not even a question.
Dude, that's no contest.
Toby Mac's
there.
goatee is legendary, or his soul patch or whatever.
All right, Steven,
It is my
Mr.
turn.
Vegan himself, go ahead.
E vegan, yes. So, my 3 albums, gonna be Rage Against the Machine's self-titled album, You'd Prefer an Astronaut by Hum, and Doors by Earl Sweatshirt. Starting off with the Rage Against the Machine self-titled.
Hell yeah.
I think that was really the first taste I had at like a true like really politically charged, really angry punk rock album, which is something that defines my music taste now a lot. And really getting this album at, I think I really started listening to it when I was like 10 or 11. I had really never experienced that level of like just anger and just music that really talked about such the important issues that they talked about throughout this album and throughout all their discography. And it's just like, fuck, like this is like utilizing a music form for like a purpose like that was something that I just never experienced. And I remember watching like the Killing in the Name and the Freedom music videos, just his like guttural like just yells of like well, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me, and Freedom, yeah, right. It's just like, I don't think I've ever listened to music that had that much like passion and like anger behind it. And it's just, like I said, that's fueled a lot of my music taste now, and it's just having that much passion and a message behind your music is something that I really admire a lot. The next one is going to be You Prefer an Astronaut by Hum. Definitely a change of pace from the Rage Against the Machine one. I guess they're called space rock album out of Champaign, Illinois, back in the early to mid 90s was when they were more popular. The big thing with them is they kind of created this wall of sound. Sonically, it's a beautiful album. There's like an alternative rock kind of sound, kind of similar to Smashing Pumpkins is really the closest I can think of to people that aren't familiar with it. But they would just kind of gradually build up this sound until it was like huge and it just like hits you in the face. And that I just have not gotten tired of this album in the 2+ years that I've been really listening to it consistently. I listen to this album all the time. A couple of my favorite songs off of that one are Stars, I'd Liked Your Hair Long, and I Hate It Too. They influence a lot of bands that I listen to now, such as Title Fight probably being the biggest one. Their album Floral Green is incredibly important to me as well, and they draw a lot of the influences from this album. So,
whoa, you can't get a 4th album. That's cheating.
You're right. I'll back off.
It's being cut.
Another thing about this album is it's there's a lot of different interpretations to it. They have really just vague meanings behind the lyrics. There's no just like cookie cutter meaning behind it, which I really enjoy as well. I like the idea of having an album that can mean different things to different people. What I've seen in it mostly is kind of like a realistic like love story that has like a kind of a bad ending to it. But I always just kind of appreciated the albums that talk about love in a realistic form, not kind of like the fairy tale-y way that you will see in a lot of forms of art. And so that's something I appreciated as well. And it's something that can resonate with you a lot better if you've gone through bad breakups or just bad relationships in general. It's just a really nice album to listen to for that as well. And then my last one is going to be Doris by Earl Sweatshirt, California rapper. I'd say one of the best lyricists of the past 10 years, easily. He's an absolute genius. His father was a poet, and so that probably has a lot to do with it as well. He was one of the first rappers I listened to when I was first getting the rap when I was like 14 years old, and he was really edgy. Him and Tyler the Creator made, songs about like rape and murdering people, and I was like, oh, that's so sick, that's so edgy. And then between that and making this album, Earl Sweatshirt's parents sent him to Africa to a boarding school, and then he made this album. He was kind of writing this while he was away, and just the personal growth that he went through in that time when he's making this album. Just how much he grew up, how much he talked about, not fitting in, not, knowing where he's going in life, really resonated with me at the time. And this was kind of like, I guess like my time of realizing I need to grow up, lined up with Earl's in that same timeline. So this was just around then was kind of a dark time for me personally as well. And so this was something that I could relate to. I didn't feel like I fit in with what I was doing in life. I didn't know what I was doing with myself. So hearing, someone that had kind of followed the same timeline as me, and do it really well and really poetically was amazing to listen to. And really just another big thing about Earl throughout his whole career is just he's always been true to himself. And that's something that I try to do. I try to be someone I'm trying to just be myself, not what anyone else wants me to be. And that's something I could relate to pretty well as well. And sonically, it's just a fantastic album as well. Earl's a great rapper. He has great producers and all that. So, yeah.
Right on, man.
Cool. Yeah.
He was only like 20 or like 19 when he made that album, right?
Yeah, he had just gotten back to, he set out turned 18, yeah.
Some Illmatic shit.
Crazy.
Crazy.
All right.
And here we are just
I
making
guess-
a podcast in our rooms.
Yeah. Woo.
We're
At our own
expressing
pace.
ourselves right now.
We're at our
On
own
that
pace.
note,
That ain't no
Yeah,
problem.
yeah,
That ain't no problem.
so I guess it's my turn to talk about my albums. So my 3 albums that I've picked were To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar.
Big surprise.
Hey, stop that.
Yeah, Big Shack. Yeah, I know. And then Maps of Non-Existent Places by Thank You Scientist.
Banger. Banger.
And A Black Mile to the Surface. I think, oh geez. Now that I'm like thinking about it, I think that's what it's called, by Manchester Orchestra. What if I just butchered the album title? That'd be pretty bad.
By who?
That
Fix it
would be
post.
pretty bad.
Manchester Orchestra.
It is a Black Mile to the Surface.
Yeah, A Black Mile to the Surface. So I guess starting with To Pimp a Butterfly. I know no one's ever heard this before. No one's even ever said this before.
Lay
but
it
this
out.
album is kind of like what got me into hip hop. And at the time, I was very much like I was kind of getting into like playing jazz music in high school. Because I played bass and I was like really into jazz, or what I thought was jazz. And so whenever I heard the album, just the first like 2 or 3 tracks, all the like funk and like jazz influence in them, I really just like, it resonated with me. And I think it's one of those albums that each listen I give it to, it's just like something's different and it just gets better every time. I will be the first to admit that I'm not like a super hardcore listener to lyrics when it comes to songs. I kind of have a very surface level analysis of like people's lyrics, and I mostly just listen to like something like production or instrumentation. But that album, I definitely think that it has lyrics that like are very impactful. A lot of like socially conscious stuff that he talks about, and a lot of it I think is very important to the time, and it continues to be important to today. So I would go ahead and say that probably the best rap album of the past 10 years. Yeah, and I can say that with confidence. Yeah.
Continue.
I'll give that.
I will allow it.
Yeah.
I am the judge, and I
Have you
will
heard
allow it.
KOD?
my second album was Maps of Non-Existent Places by Thank You Scientist.
Heater.
And it's funny because this one's
Yeah.
kind of connected to Pimp a Butterfly in a sort of way. Sort of connected to Pimp a Butterfly in the sense that I was at the same time in high school, like I was kind of getting into like jazz music and playing like really, I just was listening to a lot of really technical stuff. And this album sticks out because it is a 7-piece progressive rock band. So they've got vocals, drums, guitar, bass, and then they have trumpet, saxophone, and violin. I don't know why I said saxophone like that. Saxophone and violin. And like all of their, all their recordings kind of has like jazz formats to them, in which they'll play like a head or like the chorus type thing, and then there's like verses, and they'll have like a solo section. And my favorite thing about this band is when you go see them live, all the solos are like improvised live. So I've seen them 3 times now. They have pretty much a similar set list every time. Obviously, when they release new music, they'll play new songs, but I've never seen the song played the same way 2 times, because they just come up with it on the spot, and that's something I really really admire in a musician, and the fact that they can just do it as a band. They're just really cohesive. The stuff they play is really technical, but at the same time really catchy, and I think that's something that also kind of resonates with me. And yeah, so on that note, the last album, A Black Mile to the Surface by Manchester Orchestra, it is very much not like the Thank You Scientist album. they Manchester Orchestra is very much like a no flash, no, like you're not gonna hear a guitar solo for like 2 minutes in a Manchester Orchestra song. You're just gonna hear probably some chords, maybe a little bit of like piano in the background, and like some vocals, and I think they do that really well. I wouldn't call what they make like emo music, but I think that a lot of emo bands are influenced by them, and that's a genre of music that I like to think that I enjoy sometimes. And so just like they also kind of have, and like I said before, I'm not like the best listener, or what's the word? What's someone who does analysis called? An analyzer?
An
analyst?
An analyst. I'm not the best.
An analyzer.
Anal
Hey,
cyst.
This is good. Kat.
Oh, this is
I'm
perfect
not the
content
best.
to cut out.
I know you're right. I'm not the best analyst of lyrics.
Analyst.
You're not
I said
very
it wrong
analytical.
again.
You're not very
Analyst.
analytical of lyrics.
It's
I'm not very
anal. It's
when it
analist.
comes to lyrics. I don't pay much attention to that, but I do know that they do have a way with their lyrics. It's very poetic, very kind of thoughtful. You have to think about it to be like, oh, okay, it's not very like super shallow, surface level. It's like a black mile to the surface,
If
to
you will.
understand what they're talking
Well, I
about.
won't.
Yeah, bars.
Dude, he said the name of the album in his
I
analysis.
did it in my analysis.
You mean
in
in
my
his
analysis.
What are we?
His
Some kind
analysis.
of analysis?
That's why you suck at
Alright.
English. You don't listen to the words.
Hey, words are hard.
Analysizer?
Yeah, I'm an analysizer. And those are my 3 albums. Take it away, Nick.
Okay. Well, I guess for me, music. I don't know. This was kind of hard because I don't really have favorite music. It's just kind of music to me. But I think the 3 that I found that are most representative would be Because of the Internet by Childish Gambino, Young the Giant's self-titled album, and then this last one was kind of hard, but I decided to go with V, as in Victor. It's just called V though. It's by Waves.
It's a long album
So yeah, so I guess with Because of the Internet, that was actually my first like rap hip hop album that I fully listened to, because I had never really, I'd heard rap before and I never really liked it, and still like I'd be willing to say that 95% of rap music I don't really like actually. I only like certain artists who have a certain sound, like Kendrick or J. Cole or some others, Earth Gang. But I really like Because of the Internet because I don't know, I just like the progression of the first half of the album is a little more, I guess, lighthearted and upbeat and kind of more of a, I guess, more like rap. Whereas the latter half of the album, there's still beats and there's still rhyme, but I don't know, it becomes a little bit more of almost experimental in some of the sounds. And I like a lot of the themes that he talks about of just like modern day interaction with technology, and just kind of modern day culture, but wrapping that message in just the music that he has. I think that's really cool. So that's just an album that I've listened to a lot and I can always listen to. Young the Giant, that album, I like all their music actually. Young the Giant's one of my favorite bands. and that's more. I guess you'd say they're alternative. Um, they're not like they're not really an alternative rock band. They're more just, I would say, straight alternative. Um, and each album, what I like about them is each album has a bit of a different sound, while at the same time it's very much their own sound, which I know is very confusing. But I think their album Home of the Strange introduces more funk elements, and so there's not really like a theme throughout an album. Each song kind of has its own theme, which I think is cool. So that's just representative of like alternative music. And I discovered one of the songs from them when I was a freshman in high school after I had just moved. So I remember I was actually watching, I think it was like the Video Music Awards, which I had never watched before, and I thought it was really weird, but they did a performance there, and I had never heard of them, and I thought it was almost odd because I've never really seen them in a lot of like mainstream formats again. But I remember that song, which is called My Body, and I just liked that performance, and that made me check out the album. And then the last one, V, I like, if there's any genre that I actually really really like, it's like surf rock. So even like the Beach Boys and Somersault, they kind of have a beachy vibe. So I don't know, it's just always been, I like the sound of the guitars in beach rock settings, and there's usually a lot of mic effects. But what's cool about Waves is they're not really a surf rock band. I would say they're, what would you say, Tyler? Like, I mean, almost
I don't know what I
punkish.
would say. Like,
They
yeah,
have a punkish vibe, but they're not like a punk band, I would say. Um, I mean, I think they'd be categorized as alternative, but it's definitely a more unique one. It's like especially, but that album is very surf rock. And they actually, now that I think about it, they have another album called King of the Beach. So they definitely, and that one is also very surf rock. So I think that is kind of their forte, but I think one of their newer albums, they've kind of moved away from it. But I don't know. That's just a genre that I like. I like that album a lot. A lot of the tracks are similar in just the music, and it's just an easy listen. So yeah, that's me.
all right. Sounds
Let's go,
good.
baby.
Well, there it is.
You know, I feel like
Nice.
I learned some new things about my friends and their music tastes
I
today.
learned absolutely
what
nothing.
a good experience.
Thanks for listening.
So there's actually a little bit more time. So I think before I'm gonna be the first one to choose an album, if that's cool with everybody.
No.
It's not
Yeah, like we
actually-
didn't already decide this.
Predetermined.
I object.
You're
Stop
right, like we
breaking
didn't-
the fourth wall.
Overruled.
Sorry. I'm gonna be the first one to pick an album, but before we do that, let's talk a little bit about what is everyone kind of listening to like lately.
444.
You're just doing this so you can talk
Forward.
about the fucking
Look,
Billie Eilish
I'll talk
album.
about Billie Eilish for hours, and I don't care what anyone says.
Why are
Let's
you
do
doing this?
No, I'm not.
Such
I
a
want to know
bad
people, the viewers want to know what we're listening
Duh.
to.
Bad pass.
The Billie Eilish
cast.
album is good though. I
I agree.
like that album
It's good.
a lot.
Yeah,
I think
I do
it's
too.
refreshing.
Is anyone
as
else listening to
far
Billie
as-
Eilish right now?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
listened to
I
it
speak.
today.
Yeah,
I've saved it. I want to listen to it, but we'll see what happens.
You just have to turn your volume all the way up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is pretty
I
very
was in the
quiet. It's
car
very
quiet.
like cranking it
very
so
quiet.
hard. I couldn't hear anything.
I would almost say it's not even like a volume thing. It's like the whole album is just like, I think Jared said that it's just 808s and singing. So it's like the EQ is like, her voice is like very very high, and all the instrumentation is very very low, like as far as frequency goes. So
Yeah.
it's just like this big like kind of gap in the middle.
For sure.
And a lot of especially if you're trying to listen in your car, a lot of like
Yeah.
those speakers are probably not made for something
That
like
kind of
that.
frequency range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I would suggest listening to headphones if you can, but it's good. I like it.
It's good. I like it the more that I listen to it. Like the first time I listened to it, I liked it, and then I listened to some of the tracks more and more. I was like, okay, I like this more. Like I don't know, it's growing on me. I dig.
I will say it's very refreshing, at least in terms of just like pop music that's on the radio.
Yeah.
At least to me, I don't listen to a whole lot of radio music, and by a whole lot I mean I don't listen to the radio. But it's very refreshing, and I like her voice, and I like that she's kind of saying stuff in her songs.
Yeah.
And not saying that she's the only one to do that, especially on the radio. Like, sure, like artists do that, but for me and my ears, like, her sound is definitely like interesting to me, and I'm excited to see like where she goes, like, as like an artist, because she's still like so young. She's 17 years old, and I hope she grows and matures, not just as a person, obviously, but as a musician as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else anyone wants to talk about? New
she's
music
a-
or old music that you're listening to again? What were you saying?
I was saying this Billie Eilish is a. I have heard the assertion, and I guess I kind of agree with it, that she's doing what like Lord and Lana Del Rey are like trying to do, have been trying to do.
Yeah.
Bars.
Hot take. I don't know. I agree.
That's a spicy take.
That's
That is
Is it a spicy take?
Very
Don't we
spicy.
all?
We'll see what I think, and then we'll make a final decision.
Yeah.
My decision's fine.
Has anyone listened to the new Denzel Curry?
I did. I just today listened to it.
Is it good?
Not yet. I want to.
Not yet.
Me too. I haven't had
I have
time.
a lot of
No.
music that I want to listen to, but now that I'm just sitting at home, I don't listen to music when I'm
Yeah.
sitting at home. So I need
Yeah.
to start walking or working out or something to
Hey,
the excuse to listen
Planet
to it.
Fitness is always open.
Well, I could go there. I could
Our
just.
sponsor for today.
No, not a
If
real
you
buy
sponsor.
their
Not
Black
an
Card
actual
membership-
We're
sponsor.
not sponsored. Nope. The only thing I've
But if
listened
you
to-
want to sponsor us, Planet Fitness.
we do accept sponsors.
Send
We
me a
do.
check.
Maybe. The only thing I've listened to is it's an album from 2017. Has anyone heard of the National Parks?
Heard of them, have
No.
not listened to them.
Yeah, it sounds
Okay.
familiar.
Never been there.
Well, it's an album called Places. I heard the single, which is called Places, and it's kind of a. I guess I would think it's like alternative, but it's kind of poppy almost, but it's not like a pop album. But I like it. It's good. It was pretty quick. It's only 30-minute album, so
Yeah.
it's easy listening. It's nice to just
Easy
have on when
listening.
you're just doing something.
Kind of
But that's all.
backtracking just a little bit, but the Denzel Curry album is also very short. Even though it's like 12 tracks, like half of them are interludes. It's kind of weird, but I like it a lot. It's like I don't like it as much as Taboo, but
What's this one called?
it's pretty solid. It's called Zoo with ZUU is how it's spelled, and
Okay.
I don't know. It's pretty solid. He's if he just keeps up what he's doing, I'll keep listening to it.
What about the Joe Bros?
Oh no.
I haven't listened to it
Oh
yet.
no, bros.
Wait,
Ain't
they
no
put out an
bringing-
album?
Fuck.
Does anyone actually want to listen to it?
To what?
The
Jonas
Jonas
Brothers.
Brothers new album.
Not
You know,
I mean,
really.
I
I'm
will
going
say, I will say that as a young man, back in the day, I enjoyed the Jonas Brothers,
Yeah.
and I will even say that the first CD that I bought with my own money was a Jonas Brothers album.
Wow.
We
Yeah.
stand.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, I
folks.
bet you guys didn't know that.
I just want to point out. I just want to point out that we would not have the word "stand" if it wasn't for the Marshall Mathers LP. Just gonna put that out there.
That is true.
Okay.
True.
Yeah, that is
That's
true.
true.
That's hot. That's hot.
Also,
We also wouldn't have
it's
those
like a
garbage
it's like a
albums.
negative word.
No,
Why
wait,
do
wait,
people
wait,
use
wait,
it
what
in
was
a
Steven
positive
saying?
way now?
So we wouldn't have those garbage albums he's been putting out in the past.
Those don't have anything to do with each other.
He just
No
had to put it out.
correlation.
He wrote
I do-
Stan.
Like,
I do want to listen to it. I only listened to ever like the singles that we all heard like growing up,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I like the two singles that they put out so far. I feel like they're competent musicians. It's not like their music was ever bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I'll check it out.
Maybe. If someone puts it in
I-
the draft, I won't fight it because I don't have the authority to do that.
I'll get around to it. It's not at the top of my list, but it might be. It might be on there somewhere.
Yeah.
One day.
Towards the bottom.
I've heard maybe a couple tracks besides the singles, and I'll say that they're very like this isn't like a let me put on my tinfoil hat real quick, but they very much they know their audience and they're playing to it very well. Not to say that that's a bad thing, but it's like obviously people who are listening to them growing up are our age now, and so it's like they've kind of just evolved their sound into what people our age would like or what they think that
It's
we
almost
would
like
So
their entire like musical career's been
Dude.
commercialized.
whatever.
I mean,
But
get
by
your
that, do you
point,
mean-
bro.
by that, do you mean? Because I think their older stuff, obviously, they were. I mean, I guess you could say kids at the time.
Yeah.
So, do you think it's not like when I say adult, like not adult themed, but do you think it's like more mature sounding?
No, I do. I definitely think so. Like,
Okay.
it's very much not like they wouldn't play it on the Disney Channel. Even like the single is like I've been dancing in top of cars and getting kicked out of bars. Like,
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
true.
just little things like that of like
Stuff that we would do or relate to, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
How
Okay.
we all dance on
Hashtag
top of
relatable.
cars.
Yeah, they're trying to be relatable, and that's I mean that sells.
And how we
right?
all get
Yeah.
kicked out of bars.
About to say,
Shout out Public House sponsors.
Okay.
Oh,
drag you out of that fucking bar.
I'm gonna bleep that.
Shout out the bouncers to get him out of here.
You guys gotta go. Maybe we'll tell that story on the other podcast, which is a good time.
Other podcast.
Whoa.
What do you mean,
Plug.
Tyler?
I know, right?
Sponsored
Good time
by our
to
other
plug the
podcast.
podcast. You know what? The official sponsor of Haven't You Heard with the Hooligans is our other podcast. We're gonna sorry, I'm breaking the fourth wall again, but we're gonna do it right now. We're just gonna record. We're gonna talk about literally anything except music, probably. So we'll be doing that. But before we do that, I'm going to pitch the album for this week that everyone is going to have to listen to. So take out your pens and papers, take out your Spotify,
But don't
to
make too
get
much
ready.
noise.
Or Apple Music, whatever you prefer.
And
Or yeah, Apple Music.
and
sorry,
you guys
yeah.
at home, feel free to listen to the album as well.
Please do.
There you go,
Highly
Jared.
encourage it.
There you go, Jared.
If anyone is listening at home and you
Please
want to
listen
listen
along with
along,
All our listeners.
Don't make us go through this alone.
so the album that I am picking
Let me pull up my
today
iTunes.
is called it's called Pink Lemonade by Closure in Moscow.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's something I hope everybody likes. It's kind of a progressive rock-y, but kind of like also still kind of catchy type stuff. But the songs aren't as long as someone like Thank You Scientist. So
This album's
we
an
won't talk
hour
about
long,
that
though.
one. Some of the songs aren't as long.
I don't know
Some
about that
of
one,
them.
Chief.
Yeah. But it's a concept album of sorts, but we'll talk about that next time we meet up. It'll be in about a week. So yeah, any closing thoughts from anybody?
Igor album of the year.
Igor is a really good album.
Oh my god.
Okay.
I still need to listen to
About
that.
what we're listening to.
I hear conflict of opinions.
Go music.
Yeah.
Music.
That's the tagline. Go music.